cut it down for us. What is some of the best advice you would give to a younger version of yourself making documentaries?
I mean, the most important thing I'm always telling myself is not to think I know how this is going or where this is going, or trying to change what someone's saying to make it fit what you think, this should be. So really it's just more about, getting people to relax or, documenting everything as it is, even if you don't like the way this is going or you don't.
How do you get them talking? How do you get someone you're interviewing?
I try to get a relationship going with a person. I mean, that usually makes the best documentaries. If you really, to make it good, you really have to put in time. There's nothing else to it. So if you get to know somebody and they become relaxed around you and they become relaxed with the point that there's always a camera in your hand, eventually they start to ignore the camera. So what I do is I try to make it just as like nothing going on as much as possible. And I set up, a couple cameras, and I already know ahead of time everything I want to do, and I go over my notes. So I'm not, fumbling over things. And so I can spend all my time looking at the person in the eye. And I tell them, I say, this is just, it's just a conversation between you and me. You don't have to look at the cameras. Just ignore this whole thing. Let's talk. I try to find some form of common ground. Maybe it's something around their house. Like, oh, I see you have a picture of this, me and my
small
wife.
Talk. Okay.
Yeah, small talk. So just get them talking and hit record on your cameras. And so they're talking about something else and you just flow right into the questions that you want to ask them. They don't even really realize that there was a transition from like, okay, we're rolling, like that makes them sweat. So I just try to keep it as chill and as smooth and just a calm, like, conversation. And
our filmmakers are actually recording, interviewing remotely.
Yeah.
How do you coach someone? How do you coach your person that you're interviewing without being bossy, but still to get good footage?
I tend to focus more on audio than I do even video or lighting, because really.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, in my opinion, like, if the audio is bad, you really can't ignore that when you're watching. If it's like shot on a iPhone, if it's like really dark and you really can't even make out something, or if there's a lot of camera movement, all those things can actually add to the drama, I think, of what you're watching. But if you can't hear it, or if the sound's really dirty, or that just makes
there's no opportunity for B-roll.
Right. It really doesn't leave you much to work with. Yeah, I would say focus on your audio first and foremost, especially with something like this.
Moving forward, when you're interviewing someone, how do you get, once they're comfortable, how do you get effective answers from those you're interviewing?
So for some people, I find that it's good to rephrase the question. So if I say, what's your favorite color? They might just say blue, and they're done. But that doesn't give me anything. So I'll say, what's your favorite color? And maybe start the sentence out with, my favorite color is blue, and why? And,
so you can ask them to talk about it. Okay.
So I ask them to rephrase the question. Another thing that helps a lot that I love to do is, so I might have a sit down interview for a while. Next time I meet with them, I might mic them with a lav mic. I find that people have a much easier time talking about stuff, especially serious stuff or even the emotional stuff, if they're moving, like walking. So I like to put little lav recorders on people and then walk with them and film while I'm walking and talking, because I find sometimes just that face-to-face speaking about something that's hard to speak about can be almost overwhelming. And another thing is, like, don't worry about if you ask the same questions 3 different times. Like, you might get the same answer, but a different twist on it, or you might get a completely different answer at different times.
Some wonderful advice given today. I I want to thank you again, John. RedTideProductions.com. Check it out.
Thing I would say is just, I mean, it took me a few times to really start to understand the layers of making a documentary film, and I just think that that's really a fun aspect of shooting it is, you know, the interviews and the b-roll and walking interviews, and just like, because creatively, I mean, in the post work, it just gives you so many fun options that cut back and forth through, and when you're watching films, to start, you know, trying to watch for that, because it happens a lot, like where even though it's showing like somebody in the scene somewhere, like say they're in a store or something, and you hear them talking, but then the interview starts in while they're still showing that b-roll of them in the store. I mean, it's just really neat the way you can be creative and layer things like that. So I would watch that. I mean, it took me a few films to really start getting into it.